Okay.
I love risk taking.
Okay.
I'm into small businesses.
Okay.
In fact, I venture into business very boldly without
Okay.
even knowing much about the business.
You're exactly like me.
Yeah, in some businesses I made money,
Okay.
and in many businesses I lost a lot of money.
Well, it's always.
But I gained a lot of experience.
Wonderful.
Now I know what I'm not supposed to do, at least.
Okay.
So I always used to venture, and even now, my mind will not stay calm. It will always think of something new
Okay.
which I need to do. I
Okay.
always felt
Queries through chat box in the end of this session and not allowed to turn on their audio until this session ends. A feedback form will be given after this session ends. Fill the feedback form correctly and get your e-certificate for participation. Thank you all.
Thank you, Nalini ma'am, for your necessary information. We bring forward our respect to the founder chairman, late Dr. P.K. Das, for showering blessings to all. May the blessings of the day radiate through the smile, be helpful to the various hands, and shine through hearts. Now, us prayer. கனி கண்டிடம் உதயத்திலும் சுந்தரோத்சவமாயிடம் மணிகன் வரத்திலும் கண்டிடும் உதயத்திலும்.
Thank you for all for the patient participation. Happiness is a state of mind. It's just according to the way you look at things. It's my delightful to welcome our dearest HOD sir, Mr. Singara Vadivelu, to welcome the gathering. Sir?
thank you, madam.
Okay, sir.
Very good morning to everyone. And today we have gathered here for a webinar on today's aviation scenario, which is very, very important for today's event. And on behalf of our Nehru Group of Institutions and Nehru College of Aeronautics and Applied Sciences, I welcome our chief guest, Mr. Giridhar Soundarajan, for his wonderful seminar which he is going to give. Welcome you, sir.
Thank you, sir.
I welcome all of you, and I welcome our CEO and Secretary in his absence here. I welcome our Dean, Dr. P.R. Balaji sir, for his grateful support always, and I request him to preside over the function. Welcome you, sir.
Thank you, sir. Thank you.
I welcome Professor Emeritus Dr. P. Muthuswamy sir. I welcome our training manager, Mr. Ramesh Babu sir. I welcome all our beloved dearest faculties from BBA, BSc, MBA and AMA department. I welcome all our dear students. This seminar will be a very useful seminar to you at this scenario. I welcome all the students. I welcome the MOC team led by Nalini madam and Srividya madam, and I welcome our coordinator, Assistant Professor Raja Rajeshwari madam, and I welcome all other participants who are participating in this seminar. Once again, I welcome you all for this wonderful webinar. Thank you all. Thank you, sir.
Thank you for your gratitude invitation, sir. Your mind is a powerful thing. When we fill it with the positive thoughts, your life will start to change. I invite the ever-prominent leader of our department, Dr. Balaji sir, to preside over the webinar.
Thank you, ma'am. The most respected chief guest of the day, Mr. Giridhar Soundararajan, the head of the department, Professor Singara Vadivelu, Professor Emeritus Dr. Muthuswamy, training manager Mr. Ramesh Babu, and all my colleagues, invited guests, and my dear students. A very good morning to one and all present here. Ever since we had the lockdown, the departments have become vibrant, and all the departments, I am glad, they are conducting very useful webinars. In fact, even yesterday we had a webinar, and again, it was on the impactful communication and on the career guidance. It was well organized and coordinated by Sri Vidya ma'am. Ma'am, thank you so much and congratulate for organizing such a wonderful webinar. Followed by webinar organized by Mrs. Raja Rajeshwari. Ma'am, let me congratulate and thank you for this wonderful webinar which you are going to give it to us. Thank you so much. Today, very apt. Today's aviation scenario. And she has roped in one of the senior most people in the industry, Mr. Giridhar Soundararajan, and I'm glad he carries with him vast experience. So when he's going to share his knowledge, the students, not only the students are going to benefit, the faculty members present here, including me, we are also going to benefit. When we talk about aviation industry, especially in today's scenario, when we say all the students will know most of the flights are grounded, the sky is very, very clear, but that's not going to be continued forever. Such kind of scenarios has happened earlier, but the aviation industry always bounce back. It will again grow in leaps and bounds. It's only a question of time. I have been in the industry for almost 3 decades, and I know how the industry has grown. Same Coimbatore Airport, what you are witnessing now, I have seen only one Indian Airlines flight which comes, lands, and takes off. And we used to go and wait for hours to see an aircraft landing because we're landing in PSG College of Arts and Science. And just behind the grounds only, we had the airport. That time it used to be called as a civil aerodrome. And now it has become an international airline. Today, I can proudly say the Coimbatore is witnessing more than 30 touchdown and takeoffs. That means, almost the air traffic control is handling around 60 flights a day. Imagine that is the kind of growth it has grown. I used to, when I started my career in the industry, I used to carry my ABC book. That is the flight schedules. It's a timetable where if somebody, a managing director of a company, and that time all day travels was almost monopoly. Most of the Coimbatore business people used to travel through us. And I used to carry the ABC book, which is as big as those. A to M, okay, will be in one book. Letters A to M will be in one book, all the schedules of the flight, and then N to Z in another book. So we used to carry the blue and the red book, and we used to finalize itinerary. The fare calculation used to be manual, using an air tariff or passenger tariff. Everything manual. Now, the things have totally changed. By a click of a button in the computer, you can get all the airlines timetable. You can select which airline you want to know. You can find out the number of seats available in the destination. And with one click of a button, you can even know what is the price for each segment. So that is how the entire scenario has changed. Not only that, even when you go to the airport, before it used to be all manual checking. Now they have introduced the machines, automated machines, CUS and Q. The common user self-service machines are there in the airport. So people can go and do a self-service. They need not go wait in the long queue. Web check-in is possible. Tele check-in is possible. Everything is become. So that means the aviation industry is totally changed. And you all remember, 100 years ago, what we have all read, we have even our grandparents have not witnessed. Such kind of similar pandemic was there. Many people have lost life. But what has happened? After that, the world has come back to normal. It has bounced back. And there has been a constant growth, whether in terms of technology, whether in terms of science, whatever you name it, we have been constantly growing. So this is a temporary scenario where most of the flights are grounded. This time, There is no war, no terrorism, but only thing, it's a pandemic situation. The life is very important. And that's the reason all the industry decided they will come to a standstill till the situation becomes normal. But I'm telling you, there is a saying in English that there is a light at the end of the tunnel, isn't it? And there is a song also, எந்த தீமைக்குள்ளும் ஒரு நன்மை உண்டு, புயல் மண்ணில் வந்தால் மழை மண்ணில் வரும், isn't it? புயல் மையம் கொண்டால். So for every bad situation, there is always something good is going to happen. Similarly, you will have to think positive. You would have heard about 9/11. I have all witnessed the 9/11. We have seen. So the 9/11 scenario, it has brought the aviation industry again to a standstill for some months. Especially most of the aircraft flying into the US were stopped. They were worried. That time it was terrorism, 9/11. But again, I just read an incident and I want to share it here quickly. When that incident happened on the 11th of September, a Delta flight which took off from Frankfurt, Germany, it had already flown 5 hours across Atlantic, and it was destined to go into Washington. And that is the time the captain received a message and immediately called the cabin crew to the cockpit, and he said, I received a note. Now, I don't know what is the reason. They are asking us to land in the nearest airport. We cannot go to Washington. And everyone, the crew member were literally panicked. They didn't know what, but anyway, they need to obey. So immediately the captain contacted the nearby airport, which was 400 kilometers away from the place they were flying. Closest was the Canada, the Gander airport. So they immediately contacted the ATC of the Gander airport. They gave the approval. Immediately they went and landed. When they landed in that airport, they saw there are already 20 such aircraft is been lying there. So it already landed. So in this situation, they didn't know what's happening. After landing, they got the information that there is a terrorist attack. The Twin Towers have been attacked, and the aircraft was used as a weapon. Then it was a shock to the passengers on board and to all the cabin crew, and they were there. And later on, after one day, they remained in the airport and they remained in the aircraft. And after one day, they all shifted to the village, which is called the Lewisport, about 75 kilometers away from the airport, Gander airport. They went. The total population of the village is only 10,500. And in the 53 aircraft, they had around 10,000 passengers there. They need to accommodate 10,000 passengers. They immediately vacated the schools, the hospitals, everything. They went, they accommodated the passengers, and many people have accommodated the passengers in their own house, and they were waiting for the airport to again reopen for the flights to operate. It took 2 days, but in the 2 days, they took care of the passengers so well. Wonderful hospitality, even though it was a small village. And later on, after 2 days, when the government announced, yes, we can resume the flights, then all the passengers were taken back. And again, they were put in the Delta flight, destined bound to Washington. And that time, one passenger requested the cabin crew, I would like to make an announcement in the public announcement system, PA system. Normally, they don't allow. But because of that situation, they allowed the passenger to speak. And he said, we all enjoyed the hospitality of the Lewisport these 2 days. Even though it's a small town, they have not taken care of us so well. In turn, we should do. It's a very backward, city. We will have to.
Cloudburst changed the entire aviation environment. In Europe, Turkish Airlines, Atlas Global collapsed. British Airlines Flybe already struggling financially prior to the virus outbreak. I'm talking about the mid-2019 in Europe. And the charter airline in the US, the Miami International, had to find what is called as the Bankruptcy Act of Chapter 11 in the US, with the US laws. The Transat airline, which is a sister company, was also filing into bankruptcy. The Italian airline, Erstwhile. I can go on mentioning airlines after airlines, including the Berlin Air in Europe, the WOW airline of Iceland, There are just so many that just went into this so-called cloudburst, which was absolutely, they never anticipated that such a thing was right up in front of the flight path. So when all these things were happening, the government was just not sitting idle. For example, South African Airways, the government had to give them a bailout. Well, even in our own Indian scenario, if you looked at Air India has been giving handouts by the government in many ways, but still the bailouts are just not sufficient to what exactly is going on. The South African Airways also received billions of South African rands from the government in the early 2020. That's the beginning of the pandemic, end of 2019 and beginning. So it was under voluntary business rescue, which the government decided to bail out. Then the once very famous Air Mauritius entered into a voluntary administration to safeguard its own interests because that company was also going into sort of a bankrupt position. So the government decided to give them a bailout as well so that they can continue operating, and they're still continued operating. Thank God to the government of Mauritius, which had entirely changed the business model of their operations, and which is now into a pre-existing financial problems because of the pandemic. But they still seem to be moving well and good. Now, looking at the overall the economic tourism, which the airlines have always been the backbone of the entire universe, or let me say the global tourism industry, the post-COVID-19 passengers demand a recovery and demonstrates that the people remain eager to travel because everybody wants to travel. Go to South, you want to go why? You want to go to your beach place. I mean, it's all travelism. There are a lot of packages which a lot of tourist agencies are now coming out with, and even the hotels. The hospitality industry is also facing the same pandemic situation. All the 5-star, 7-star hotels, both in the Middle East and Europe, they're all into same kind of doldrums. So airlines are a backbone to the hospitality industry. Hospitality industry is connected with the airlines. They're always being interconnected. So in 2021, the global passenger numbers are expected to go up to 52% pre-COVID levels. So don't be disheartened by what's going on. In 2022, the global passenger numbers are expected to recover much more than 2021 at 82%. 23, it's going to improve at 105%. So the airlines can have a little bit of breathing time, though this won't be sufficient for their financial operating levels. That is, I'm talking of the early 2019, 2018 standards, where the entire nations were sort of boosted because the airlines had also participated in the national GDP growth also, because tourism was one of the prime aspects of the GDP growth, especially India, Mauritius, Africa, any country. So beyond 2030, travel is expected to slow down due to weaker demographics. If you ask me why, the assumptions of the market liberalization, which India is also a part of, which was between 2000, which will be anticipated as between 2019 and 2039, of 3.2%, which you know has been announced by the International Airlines and Transport Association to COVID forecast. So what's this going to be around? 58% of the tourists that arrive at their destination by the air and stop in the air traffic, creating massive negative growth. So what has happened? The airline industry has now seen something which our entire human race has never seen or never heard of. Let me give you a small example. Say you and me, my dear students, we are flying in an aircraft. Oh, beautiful. It's an A380 aircraft. You're flying from Mumbai, let's say we are going to Caracas in South America. Wonderful. We have departed Mumbai. The air traffic controller goes AI 235 heavy. You're requested to taxi on runway 28 left. So he taxis on runway 28 left, and then taxis and holds and says, you're now cleared for takeoff. We take off. The aircraft is climbing up. That literally translated into a drop of 850 million to 1.1 billion international tourists lost. Obviously, this is money. Time is money. Money is time. So 910 billion to airlines also were playing a big part in the export air cargos. So the tourism putting around 100 to 120 million direct tourism jobs at risk. So the impact of COVID, what happened? Aviation supported jobs already down the doldrums. People are being done, or they are told to go on a paid leave or an unpaid leave sometimes. They don't know what's going to happen. The only job they know is being in the terminal building, assistant, checking in baggages and, that sort of thing. And also being a hostess for incoming people in the terminal buildings. So what's going to happen to all this? It's going to be a negative impact on each and every operations of the buildings. I'm talking about the airports. Well, airports are a city within a city. So we have a Coimbatore city, and our Coimbatore International Airport is another city. Why I'm saying this is another city is because it has got its own security, it's got its own government, which is a terminal manager, it's got its own administration, it's got its own everything. Since they decide what happens inside the airport complex. So this aviation supported jobs inside, which in our case, it's the Airports Authority of India who decide what happens. Well, elsewhere, it's probably the government that decides what goes on. So the aviation supported jobs that primarily went down to 46 million to 41.7 million. That's a minus 52.5% decline. So direct aviation jobs at airlines and airports, manufacturers, my goodness. Think of the Boeings, the Max, Boeing 737 Max, which again, a lot of people who had ordered the Max 9 aircrafts. The Boeing had a negative effect. All the manufactured Boeing 9 aircrafts, Max 9 aircrafts were taken to the parking lots in Seattle. That is the Boeing factory's parking lot. And imagine the Airbus manufacturers, all the orders of their 320s, 320 Neos, and already 320 Neos prior to the ordering, they had the Pratt & Whitney engine crisis. And the Boeing 787 had the battery crisis. The 739 MAX had the initial crisis after the two severe air crashes, which saw the loss of a lot of lives. So this was all a signaling to the entire aviation industry, starting from the the batteries of a Boeing 787, which was an indication in one of the airlines early 2018-19, which was giving us a signal to show us that what was incoming into the aviation industry. So what happened then? Nearly 39,200 special repatriation flights had to be taken out. All the nationals and all the borders got closed by March 2020. And all the special cargo flights transporting 1.5 million tons of cargo, mostly medical equipment. So they all just became sort of transport aircraft instead of being a joyful flights for passengers. Now, airlines have continued to burn through cash. Well, you know what's going to happen? There are a lot of airlines that are still leasing their own aircrafts. The leasers, if they don't get their money, obviously they're going to come and take the money away. Like, for example, Jet Airways. They had so many, I believe 119, 180 aircrafts. How many do they have now? Even though the UK company is now looking at parking slots for Jet Airways, they just don't have enough aircrafts. That is the so-called previous laws of government of India. 5 years. Hello, can you hear me?
Oh, yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yes, please carry on, sir.
So what was happening was like the Jet Airways, they don't have any parking slots. The UK company is now looking at taking up parking slots. So Jet Airways was still continuing to burn money to keeping those aircrafts, and they still have a lot of unpaid financials to various aviation industries. So here, the planning of the industry for a safe restart after a year or more of disruptions. Imagine there's what is called in the Mojave Desert in Nevada in the US, there's what is called as a aircraft graveyard. I have seen with my own eyes in video Singapore Airlines A380 landing once and for all. Then the Lufthansa Boeing 747-400 series, a beautiful mother of the skies, or you call it the queen of the skies, landing in that Mojave Desert to go into its final resting place. It's all such disheartening scenes, which I'm sorry to say, I was literally in tears to see that. So there's been a lot of such kind of events that has literally disrupted this entire thing. So what they had to do is they had to take them back into the graveyards for a final resting place, because it was all, they were just literally burning cash and they just didn't want to do that. So the government can ensure that airlines are prepared to reconnect the people, which is the job of the government, which I think our government of India today is also looking at the same, so that they can reconnect the passengers. My dear students, please don't get disheartened or feel sad about what's going on in the aviation industry. This is just like what I said, the Airbus A380 from Mumbai flying into a Nimbus cloud. We are definitely coming out of the Nimbus cloud safe. Of course, you know, the entire global of the aviation agencies like the IATAs, the ICAOs, so on and so forth, they are all able to clear up. Recently, I attended a webinar of ICAO, which where they are planning various strategies with ICAO. International Civil Aviation Organization is planning the various strategies for various airlines, and also looking at governments to give them bailouts. It's not that all governments can give bailouts to their airlines, except countries in India, countries in Asia, like for example, India, Malaysia, Singapore, Thailand. Even Thailand and Malaysia are also sort of not quite happy in giving bailouts to their airlines, because, well, that depends also on the financial ability of their country. Well, in India, I think we are lucky in a way that Air India is still running. We have the Indigo and the SpiceJet private airlines, the GoAir, the Vistaras. They're all somewhat financially, to a certain extent, they are capable of giving bailouts, and especially Vistara, that is in collaboration with Singapore Airlines. And I'm sure the Tatas are quite capable of giving bailouts to these airlines to pull through. So the global scenario is becoming, in a way, it's going to be, it's clearing up. And the health credentials. Well, talking about the health credentials, well, today, if you need to travel, there's a lot of protocols, the so-called COVID protocols, and also they're also looking at how you get dressed up when you approach the terminal, and your way, how you look inside the cabin during your time of travel, your vaccinations, and so on. So what is the COVID-19 air traffic dashboard? Well, it's not as bad as you think, or it's not bad as you've been being portrayed on the press or on the mass media. The COVID-19 pandemic has been okay. It's impacted various air carriers and air service navigation providers. Even the lot of air traffic controllers in various countries, they have lost jobs because there's not of much traffic. So they just don't want to keep them idle and keep paying them for nothing. So it does have its own impact on various areas and various avenues. So what happens, the ICAO is using the so-called advanced data systems on board on the aircrafts to create data awareness of various enterprises and data management systems that has been working directly with the general aviation of civil industry. Like, for example, Turkey is developing an interactive dashboard to monitor various aspects of the COVID impacts in civil aviation. One, the operational impact, the economic impact, the aircraft utilization, and the country path traffic. Now, what is this operational impact? The operational impact of the flights, the seats offered, the passengers, the cargo flights, the segment into the international and domestic operations. Airlines have got their own segments inside their what do you call their daily flight timetable. They have sector 1, sector 2, sector 3, and various such kind of internal timetables. So that has to be looked at. There are certain countries, like for example, Australia is still not open, though they have opened up a traffic bubble between Australia and New Zealand recently. But still, that's not efficient enough for Qantas to survive on a long-term basis. So the economic impact next is on the revenue of the air carriers, which is going to be of a heavy burden to the airliners and the airports, and also airline and air service providers. The aircraft utilization. Wow, this is really a terrible blow to the airlines. A lot of aircrafts. Imagine a A380 aircrafts for the capacity of 500 passengers. Obviously, no airline is going to have a full volume anymore, at least not for now. So what's going to happen to those aircrafts? Well, they probably will have to end up in the Mojave Desert in Nevada in the US. And that's exactly what's happening now. A lot of A380s have gone, and even the 787s, they're also going down. They're using the 777s, 200 series and the 300 series, mostly on long-range flights and long-haul flights. All the 787s are getting grounded. The 380s are getting grounded. Some airlines because of the operational factors and the passenger volume factors. And the country path traffic levels now has been on a weekly basis, on a week-to-week basis. There's been a slight improvement from the beginning of this year. Again, still with the air traffic dashboard, the ICAO enterprises still the enterprise data management is still in the same kind of a pattern, and the traffic patterns are still, according to their analysis, it's the same thing. So what's happening now with the global levels, the global level analysis of the impact of the international traffic? You can see in North America, they're looking at various statistics that has been given. Minus 55% drop in the US, the entire North America. In Latin America, it's again going at minus 38.8%, and the loss is given at minus $17.9 billion, and it's going further down at $21.3 billion. Africa, Asia Pacific, Middle East, the entire global scenario of this financial scenario is really a catastrophic scene in today's environment. But Sooner or later, the beginning of 2023 onwards, we are definitely bound to see some growth in these negative figures. Well, not taking much of your time, I wish to say thank you to everybody, and thank you and stay safe.
You're braver than you believe, stronger than you seem, and smarter than you think. Thanks a lot, sir, for your brilliant and bright presentation for our students. Wear gratitude like a clock, and it will fit every corner of your life.
Let's be grateful to the people who make us happy. They are charming gardens who make our soul blossom. I would like to call Mrs. Rajeshwari ma'am, Assistant Professor, to give vote of thanks.
A warm and graceful evening to one and all gathered here. It's my privilege to have been asked to propose a vote of thanks on this wonderful occasion. I, on behalf of the Merit College of Aeronautics and Applied Sciences and the entire fraternity of the institution, first of all, I extend my most sincere thanks to Almighty. On my own behalf, I extend a very heartfelt thanks to our Honorable CEO and Secretary, Dr. P. Krishnakumar sir. On behalf of the entire institute, I would like to thank our beloved Dean, Dr. P.R. Balaji sir, who is giving a wonderful support to organize this webinar successfully. Thank you, sir. I want to extend my heartfelt gratitude to all the head of the departments, Professor R. Singaravadivelu sir, Head of BBA and BSc Department, Dr. P. Muthuswamy sir, Professor Emeritus, MBA Department, and the Training Manager, Mr. A. Ramesh Babu sir, AME and AMP Department. At the outset, I thank our Chief Guest and Resource Person, Mr. Giridhar Soundarajan. Sir, we are really enlightened with your knowledge and presence. Thank you, sir, for sharing your valuable knowledge and time from your busy schedule to grace this occasion. Thank you once again, sir.
Thank you.
I have also obliged to active participants present here. Your suggestions are always helpful for us. I extend my most sincere thanks to my faculty members who have made this webinar a grand success. A big thanks to MC team member for this effort. In such a short time, you have made the best arrangements for this program. Thank you, team, wholeheartedly. I once again thank you all for making this webinar a grand success. Thank you.
Giridhar sir, thank you so much. It was really wonderful, and I'm sure not only the students, we all enjoyed. We will look forward to seeing you in our campus soon once the pandemic situation is over.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir. I look forward to.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir.
Thank you very much, sir. Mr. Giridhar, sir. Wonderful
Thank you, sir.
session, sir. Thank you very much. Okay, sir. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir, so much.
HOD, sir, shall we wind up, sir?
Yes, madam.
Okay,
Madam?
sir. Thank you.
Okay,
Yes,
thank
sir.
you. Thank you.